Hey guys, very glad that you have stopped by my channel. I wish you a pleasant listening experience. Watch the video till the end, it will be interesting. When I was in school, there was an old abandoned house in our neighborhood. Almost only ruins were left in it. Thick ivy had long hung on its walls, and the roof had collapsed. One day, my classmates and I decided to sneak into it and explore. When we approached the house, it was around 8 in the evening, and the sun was already setting. The door was boarded up, so we had to climb through one of the back windows. We found ourselves in some room and began to shine our flashlights around. For some reason, the whole room was filled with dolls. Although there was nothing scary about it, we all felt some tension. No one said a word, and a heavy silence hung in the air. Many got scared and wanted to go back outside, but I convinced them to stay and explore the house a bit longer. We made our way to the front part of the house and found an empty room with only a small coffee table in the middle. Entering, we heard the floorboards creak under our feet, which sounded more like a human groan. I noticed something on the table and saw it was a note, next to which lay an old cassette. The note read, "Thank you, Dad." Seeing what was written in the note, I felt a chill run down my spine. I decided it was time to leave. Once outside, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. On the way home, I started discussing what we had seen with one of my friends. "What was that?" I asked him. "I don't know," he mumbled, "but I took the cassette with me." We were turned by curiosity about what was recorded on the cassette. We came to my house, inserted it into the tape recorder, and pressed play. But nothing happened. We sat like that for about 10 minutes, but there was only silence. After some time, we realized there was nothing on the cassette and started doing our own things, playing various games and looking at magazines with comics. And suddenly, we heard a woman's voice coming from the tape recorder. It said, "Thank you, Dad, for killing me." A hot summer evening enveloped the city in a blanket of darkness. I decided to take a walk to enjoy the cool breeze and feel the pleasant silence that reigned in the streets after a noisy workday. But I never imagined how this stroll would turn into a nightmare. Passing by a dark alley, I felt it cheap despite the heat, and this coldness penetrated deep into my soul. Everything around seemed so unattractive and ominous, as if the city had gained its own darkness, capable of swallowing all life. My gaze fell on an old abandoned house set in some distance from the main part of the city. Nobody remembered whom why had left it, but only rumors of its sinister reputation lingered. Vampires, ghosts, malevolent demons, all were said to inhabit these ruins. However, not believing these tales, I decided to check their accuracy. As I approached the house, strange shadows seemed to flit across the cornices, and at the doorstep I felt a terrible presence. My heart stopped in my chest, and my skin was covered in goosebumps. I scurried behind the window grill, and an unknown sound meowing from there scared me even more. Nevertheless, I took courage and decided to enter the house to dispel all prejudices once and for all. Through the locked gates, I entered the abandoned garden, where each step sounded like the last beat of a heart. Suddenly I heard a whisper, its words carrying alarm. "Leave now before it's too late." But my curiosity prevailed, and I chose to ignore the warning. With each step further inside, shadows passed through me more frequently, drawing closer. The air became heavy and pierced with anxious silence. as if the whole world was holding its breath. It seems as if time had stopped here and reality merged dream and nightmare into one. When I finally reached the main door, in every detail of the building, I saw glances filled with agony and horror, frozen for a moment in eternity. I was not dismayed. I decided to go inside and face the known evil haunting this old house. Raising my hand to touch the door handle, I felt chilling flashes of cold penetrating through my fingers. Seconds seemed like an eternity. The air cooled instantly, and my heart raced in my chest as if trying to escape its captivity. I was scared, but in the shelter of my own cowardice, I couldn't retreat. As I penetrated deeper into the house, the walls began to close in on me. The ceiling lowered, and endless corridors and stairs tangled me in their lattice. Voices, whispers seemed to block the way, provoking terror and madness. When I finally reached the room, it seemed as if the air wept and the walls watched me. In the depths of this gloomy room, the eyes of evil glowed, terminating the soul with their impenetrable darkness. At that moment I realized that my presence here was no accident. The house left its sinister marks on every corner, and I became one of its victims. The world staged the fits of a madman, and the walls understood every movement of mine, thirsting for the loss of meaning, destruction, and chaos. Now I relive this terrible story over and over every night when the eyes of evil find me again in this old house. Embarrassed by it, I wake up, not knowing whether it was reality or just a nightmare. But one thing I know for sure, my mind has become a prisoner of fear, and the hundreds of stories that this house has preserved within itself. In my childhood, we moved a lot. We were all so poor, so my parents usually rented the cheapest houses. I was probably 9 or 10 years old when we moved into that beautiful old house from the early 1900s. The house was in a very troubled area, but believe me, that was far from the worst part of the story. This happened one of the first nights after we moved there. I remember waking up and feeling an icy cold. It was very strange because it was midsummer outside. Moreover, we didn't have an air conditioner and it wasn't allowed to open the windows at night. Then I noticed that a soft blue light was coming from my closet, so I turned to look at it. There, in my open closet, sitting on some boxes, was a 30-year-old woman. She just sat there and cried. I could barely hear her, but what struck me most was that she also was blue, like the light coming from the closet. I remember sitting up, staring at her, and asking what happened. She stopped, looked at me in shock, and disappeared after a few seconds. Perhaps she didn't expect me to wake up or talk to her. Anyway, that was the last time I saw her, but I was never afraid of her. When I turned 12, we moved. We didn't live there long. My mom didn't tell me for many years why the rent was so low. There had been a robbery in which a young girl and her mother were killed. It seems my parents also encountered the unexplained. Otherwise, why did we live there so quickly? These scary stories happened to me 3 years ago. At that time, I was living in a newly built house, specifically in an apartment in San Antonio, Texas. The house and the neighbors were incredibly nice. There were none of the typical cliches for ghost appearances. At that time, I was serving in my army, so I was far away from family and friends. I didn't even have any pets. So I was lying in bed and felt like a medium-sized dog jumped onto the edge of the bed. At least it seemed like a dog definitely had 4 paws. I immediately froze because I knew there were no dogs in my apartment. This something began to slowly approach me, and with each step I felt the mattress tighten. When it reached my chest, I realized it was trying to lie down to the left of me. Then a thin but malicious growl sounded right by my ear, but there was no one next to me. I don't know how, but I gathered all my willpower and pretended it wasn't scared at me. After some time, I fell asleep. It never happened again after that. I think it's related to my reaction. If I had shown how scared I was, it might have continued to haunt me. But in any case, it was a strange and frightening experience. When I was 8, my family moved from an urban area in South Florida to a very small town in North Florida. The place was like something out of a Goosebumps book. Over the 15 years since then, many strange things have happened. But the strangest occurred when my sister returned to our parents' home. Her husband was deployed to Afghanistan, so she was left alone with her newborn son. Not wanting to raise her child in complete solitude in a trailer in the woods, she moved back to my parents' house for a while. It all started with knocking sounds. Something was constantly knocking on the headboards on her bed. One night, she woke up to something trying to tickle her. Actually, my sister was really bothered by this. That is, until one day she screamed out loud. She was already 30 years old, not a little girl anymore. When my mom ran into her room, she saw the entire damn double bed rocking and shaking. Very, very violently, up and down, right and left, like a boat in a strong current. But both my mom and sister had already encountered various things in their lives, so they endured this too. Later, in the middle of the night, while my sister was breastfeeding her son, something grabbed her ponytail and started pulling her head. When my mom came running to the sounds and saw what was happening, she spoke very sternly. I understand that you want to have fun, but there is a very small child in this room. He wasn't here before, so I understand your curiosity. But I forbid you to touch the child. You can only watch, you can even stay. You were here before us, but I swear to God, you cannot touch him. Since then, everything has paused. There have been no more incidents.